Ethan Cole stepped off the shuttle onto the wet ground of Varus 9, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, mossy surface. The air was thick with mist, and the dim green light of the jungle stretched as far as he could see. Strange plants with glowing veins swayed in the wind, and distant calls of unknown creatures echoed through the trees. Ethan's heart raced with both excitement and caution. This planet was not like anything he had seen before. The team's mission was to explore the area for lost human beacons, but he knew the jungle could be more dangerous than any human settlement. He looked back at his team. Leah, a quick-thinking biologist, was checking her equipment. Tom, the communications officer, tapped nervously on his tablet, muttering about signal strength. Ethan gave them a small nod, letting them know he would stay alert. He had always been good at reading danger, and something about this jungle made him feel on edge. The storm had passed only moments ago, but the jungle still smelled of wet earth and strange, alien flowers. Ethan moved carefully, scanning the ground for tracks or signs of danger. His eyes caught a trail of broken branches leading deeper into the forest. Without thinking much, he followed. He felt a strange pull toward the path, as if it wanted him to find something. After a few minutes, he heard a faint sound, a soft whimpering from behind thick vines. Ethan froze, listening. The sound was faint, but it was definitely there. He pushed the vines aside and stepped into a small clearing. There, caught in a strange metal trap, was a creature he had never seen before. It looked like a cross between a feline and a humanoid. Its skin was smooth, with soft golden fur on the arms and legs. Its eyes were wide and glimmered like polished amber. It had long fingers tipped with small claws, and its tail twitched nervously. The creature tried to pull itself free, but the trap was strong. Ethan felt a pang of pity. He took a careful step forward. "Hey, I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. The creature froze, its ears flicking back. It hissed low and cautious. Ethan knelt slowly, keeping his hands visible. "I just want to help," he said. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small cutting tool. Carefully, he worked on the trap's metal wires. The creature watched him with wide, cautious eyes. Ethan spoke gently, telling it he had no reason to harm it, that he was only trying to free it. Minutes passed, and finally the trap snapped open. The creature pulled itself out and stepped back, brushing its fur against the ground. Ethan slowly rose to his feet, giving it space. The creature studied him, its head tilted slightly. Ethan noticed a faint scar along its shoulder, a wound that looked old but still sensitive. He reached into his pack again and pulled out a small medical kit. Slowly, without sudden movements, he cleaned the scar and wrapped it carefully. The creature hissed softly, but it did not move away. When he was done, he stepped back and let the creature decide what to do next. It stared at him, silent for a long moment. Then, with a sudden leap, it vanished into the thick foliage. Ethan exhaled, his hands trembling slightly. He had never felt such a connection with a creature before. For a while, he just stood there listening to the jungle. The mist swirled around him, and the strange sounds of the night began to grow. He knew he needed to find his team, but something told him that the encounter was not over. He could still feel the creature's eyes on him, even though it was gone. The night came quickly on Varus 9. Ethan set up a small camp near the edge of the clearing, careful to stay visible for any patrols his team might send. He built a small fire and sat quietly, thinking about the creature. He didn't know its name or if it had a name at all, but he remembered its eyes, wide and trusting, after he helped it. That memory stayed in his mind, stronger than any fear he felt from the jungle. Suddenly, movement in the shadows caught his attention. He grabbed his flashlight and pointed it toward the noise. Nothing. Just the trees swaying, the mist curling in strange shapes. Ethan shook his head and sat back down. He knew he couldn't let fear control him. He had survived dangerous planets before, and he would survive this one too. The next morning, he decided to explore the jungle more carefully. He moved along the trail he had found earlier, keeping his senses sharp. The plants seemed to close in around him, leaves brushing his arms and legs. Strange insects flew past, glowing faintly as they moved. He could hear water running somewhere ahead, a small stream cutting through the dense forest. Then he saw something that made him stop. Tracks. Small, delicate footprints in the wet soil. He recognized them immediately. They matched the creature he had helped. His heart leapt. The creature was near. He followed the tracks cautiously, moving slowly so as not to startle it. After a short walk, he came upon a small clearing. And there it was. The creature was lying on a flat rock watching him. Its golden eyes flicked toward him, then away. Ethan stopped a few feet away, kneeling slowly to show he meant no harm. "Hey, it's me," he said softly. The creature's ears twitched. Its tail flicked nervously. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, as if recognizing him, the creature slowly approached. Ethan held out his hand and it sniffed him, its nose brushing his fingers. He could feel the softness of its fur, the warmth of its body. "You're not like the others," Ethan said. "You don't see me as an enemy." The creature blinked slowly, almost as if understanding. Then, with a sudden movement, it nudged him gently and sat down beside him. Ethan smiled, feeling a strange relief. He knew he could not stay long. His team would be looking for him, and the jungle was dangerous. But he also knew he could not leave the creature alone. He gave it a small ration of food, watching as it ate carefully. Then he packed up his small supplies, ready to return to his team. Before he left, he looked back at the creature. It stood on the rock, watching him, its eyes filled with curiosity and something else, something like recognition. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had saved it once, and now he had met it again. He knew the bond would stay with him, even if they never met again. As he made his way back to his team, he kept thinking about the creature. Its name, if it had one, would stay a mystery for now. But he would never forget it. The jungle of Varus 9 was full of danger, but it had also given him a moment of connection he could not explain. The team found him near the stream, worried but relieved. Leah ran up and scolded him gently for wandering off. Tom shook his head, muttering about reckless behavior. Ethan smiled faintly, saying nothing about what he had found. Some things were too strange to explain. That night, as the team slept in the small camp, Ethan sat alone by the fire. The mist curled around him, and the jungle seemed alive with quiet whispers. He closed his eyes and thought of the creature, the golden eyes, the gentle trust, the brief connection in a dangerous world. He did not know if he would ever see it again. But he knew one thing clearly. There was more to this jungle, more to this planet than any human could understand. And for the first time in a long time, he felt hope. Somewhere in the thick green forest, the creature, he now thought of it as Lyra, watched from the shadows. It sniffed the air, catching a familiar scent, the scent of the human who had once helped it, the human who had shown kindness when no one else would. Its golden eyes widened slightly, and for the first time in years, it remembered a moment of trust, a moment of hope. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of rain and metal, the scent of the human who had saved it long ago. And in that instant, the jungle seemed to hold its breath. Two lives, human and alien, had crossed paths in a small clearing on Varus 9. And though the world around them was wild and dangerous, something had changed forever. Ethan slept that night with a faint smile. He did not know what the future held, or what dangers lay ahead. But he knew that even in a place full of unknown creatures and peril, there was a spark of something greater, a spark that connected beings across species, across worlds, a spark of trust, of kindness, of hope. The jungle whispered around him, alive with unseen eyes and hidden creatures, and somewhere in the heart of the green mist, golden eyes glimmered in the dark. The memory of a human who once showed mercy would not be forgotten. Ethan Cole walked through the busy corridors of Vega Station. The station floated above the desert planet Arixa, its metal surface reflecting the light from the twin suns below. People moved in every direction, carrying cargo, checking terminals, or rushing to their ships. The air smelled faintly of oil and recycled oxygen, mixed with the sharp tang of the plasma reactors. Ethan's boots made soft clicks against the metal floor. He carried a small tool bag, filled with instruments he used for repairs and upgrades. Though he was a human, he was not just any engineer. He had been a soldier before, trained for survival in the harshest conditions of space. But now he worked quietly, fixing machines and helping stations run smoothly. As he turned a corner, a crowd had gathered near a landing platform. Humans and aliens alike were whispering and pointing. In the center of the crowd stood Karen Vallis, a Dravari warrior. She was tall, her skin a pale green with faint silver markings along her arms. Her armor glimmered with a blue sheen, and her long braid fell over one shoulder. The Dravari were a proud and strong species, known for their combat skills and strict codes of honor. Karen's sharp eyes scanned the crowd, and when they landed on Ethan, they narrowed. "You," she said, her voice calm but full of steel. "Human, step forward." Ethan froze for a moment. He had heard stories of the Dravari warriors. They were fierce and often challenged humans on their station, but he did not expect one to call him out so directly. He stepped forward slowly, keeping his hands visible. "I am Ethan Cole," he said. "I am just passing through." Karen laughed softly, but it was not friendly. "Passing through? You are in my way. You speak too freely. That is a mistake, human. On Dravari terms, such behavior demands a duel." Ethan's eyes widened slightly. He had expected tension, maybe a threat, but a duel. He glanced at the crowd. Some humans were murmuring nervously. Some Dravari were whispering excitedly like they were watching a show. "What kind of duel?" Ethan asked carefully. He had not carried a weapon for months, yet his old training made his reflexes sharp. Karen's eyes gleamed. "The kind our people use to settle disputes. 1 against 1, honor against honor. You will fight with blades. If you refuse, you are a coward." Ethan felt a chill, but he did not show fear. He had faced worse situations in the past in battlefields far from the safety of Vega Station. But this was different. This was not a battle for survival. This was a challenge in front of a crowd with rules he barely knew. Yet he could not back down. Something in Karen's stance, the pride in her eyes, demanded respect. "I accept," he said, his voice steady. The crowd gasped. Humans rarely accepted Dravari duels. Karen's lips curved slightly, not a smile, but a sign of approval. "Good, tomorrow in the central arena. Do not be late." Ethan nodded and turned to leave. As he walked, he felt the weight of the day pressing on him. He had only a few hours to prepare, though he had no idea how he could possibly fight a Dravari warrior. Back in his small quarters, Ethan unpacked his tools and glanced at the small chest in the corner. Inside lay his old armor and a few personal items. Among them was something he rarely showed anyone, a tattoo on his left arm, black and intricate with sharp lines forming a symbol. It was the Dravari crest, a mark of the bloodbound, humans who had once fought alongside the Dravari warriors long ago. Ethan traced the tattoo with his fingers, remembering his mentor, Captain Hale, who had worn it proudly in the old wars. The sun set behind Vega Station, painting the metal corridors in orange and red. The station hummed with activity, but Ethan could hardly sleep. His mind raced with questions. How would he survive the duel? Would Karen remember the old wars? And most importantly, would she recognize the tattoo he carried? The next morning, the arena was already buzzing with life. Spectators filled the stands, humans and aliens alike. Traders, soldiers, and curious onlookers crowded together to see the duel. Ethan entered slowly, feeling the weight of every gaze on him. Karen was already there, her armor gleaming in the artificial sunlight of the station's dome. Her blade, long and elegant, caught the light as she spun it lightly in her hand. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had never seen a Dravari move like that in person. Every motion was precise, fluid, and deadly. He was just a human, after all. But then he looked at his own arm, the tattoo showing clearly beneath his rolled-up sleeve, the symbol of the bloodbound. Karen's eyes widened as they fell on the mark. She froze mid-step, her blade hovering in the air. The crowd murmured. Some humans whispered nervously. Some Dravari gasped. Karen's face changed. Shock, disbelief, a flicker of memory she could not hide. Ethan felt his own heart beat faster. He had not expected this. He only meant to honor his mentor, not to cause confusion or fear. Yet he could see it clearly. Karen remembered. She remembered the stories, the legends, the humans who had once fought beside her ancestors. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The duel that was meant to happen in minutes did not start. Karen's eyes searched Ethan's face, looking for confirmation. Ethan nodded slightly, understanding what she was seeing. The symbol was real, and it meant something to both of them. Finally, Karen lowered her blade slightly. The crowd was silent now, waiting. A few whispers broke the quiet, asking if the duel would still happen. Ethan shook his head. "No duel," he said softly. "I am not here to fight you, Karen." Her voice was still strong but quieter now. "You carry the mark of the bloodbound," she said almost to herself. "Why, how?" Ethan stepped closer, careful to show he meant no harm. "Captain Hale was my mentor. He wore this tattoo when he fought beside your people long ago. I carry it to honor him and to remember what he taught me." Karen studied him carefully. Memories of old battles came rushing back. The siege of Carthos Prime, the humans who had fought and bled beside the Dravari, saving lives and proving their courage. She remembered the stories her grandmother told her of the brave human soldiers, of the one who carried the black crest, the ghost of iron. The arena felt strangely quiet. The air was thick with history and unspoken understanding. The duel had turned into something more than a fight. It was a meeting of past and present, a reminder of alliances that had been almost forgotten. Karen's eyes softened slightly. She had not expected to see this. She had come ready to test her strength, her skill, her honor. But in front of her stood a human who carried a legacy she had thought lost. Ethan did not look dangerous, not in the way she had expected. He was calm, respectful, and yet strong in a way that reminded her of the old warriors. The crowd slowly began to react. Some humans whispered in amazement, realizing the tattoo was a symbol of a powerful alliance. Some Dravari nodded silently, recognizing the mark and the history behind it. The tension in the air shifted from fear to respect. Karen finally spoke, her voice steady again. "You honor your mentor well, human. I see now why you were not afraid. The tattoo is more than ink, it is memory. It is courage. It is truth," Ethan nodded. Relief washed over him, but he remained cautious. He knew the past could be dangerous and old grudges might still linger. "I do not seek conflict," he said. "I only wish to honor what was done and to remember it properly." Karen studied him for a long moment, then finally nodded. "Perhaps the duel is not needed," she said. "But do not think this means I will forget. Your skill, your courage will be tested soon enough, and when the time comes you will show whether the blood-bound spirit still runs in you." Ethan felt a mix of relief and anticipation. The duel was over, but something new had begun. A story from the past was coming alive again, and he was at the center of it. He glanced at Karen, who returned his gaze steadily. There was no hostility now, only understanding and a shared memory of what humans and Dravari had accomplished together. The sun rose higher over Vega Station, casting light across the arena. People began to leave, whispering and talking about what they had seen. Ethan stayed for a moment, looking at Karen and the empty space where the duel had been. He felt the weight of history settle on his shoulders, and he knew this was only the beginning. He had survived the first challenge, not with weapons, but with respect for the past and the courage to honor it. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that the true test of the blood-bound spirit was yet to come. The station hummed around him as he left the arena, his mind full of thoughts. Karen watched him go, her expression unreadable, but her mind racing with memories and questions. The human had changed something in her, something she had thought was lost forever. And for the first time, both human and Dravari felt that the past was not gone. It was alive and it could shape the future.